Welcome back. Before you spend another coin from your pocket or that old jar sitting on a shelf, you might want to take a closer look. Some ordinary-looking coins have shocked collectors by turning out to be worth hundreds, thousands, or even far more because of their rarity, history, and hidden details. In today's video, we're revealing two fascinating coins that have captured the attention of collectors across the United States. Stay with me until the very end, because one of these coins could completely change the way you look at the spare change you already own. Let's get started. Fast up into the when you hold a 1965 $quarter with no mint mark in your hand, you are holding far more than a simple piece of everyday change. You are looking at a coin that was born during one of the most dramatic turning points in the history of the United States monetary system. The middle of the 1960s was a period filled with uncertainty, rapid social change, and enormous economic pressure. American families were buying homes in expanding suburbs, interstate highways stretched farther across the country, television connected millions of households to the same news every evening, and scientific achievements captured the imagination of the nation. At the same time, the United States government faced rising costs from ambitious domestic programs and increasing military commitments overseas. Inflation slowly began to influence daily life, while population growth created a greater need for coins than ever before. Stores, banks, vending machines, laundromats, parking meters, bus stations, and businesses of every kind depended on quarters to keep commerce moving smoothly. Yet an unexpected crisis was quietly unfolding. Silver, the metal that had been used in quarters for generations, was becoming increasingly valuable. As silver prices climbed, people realized that many circulating coins contained precious metal worth nearly as much as, or even more than, their face value. Instead of spending them, countless Americans began saving rolls of silver coins in drawers, closets, and safe deposit boxes. Others melted them for their bullion value. This widespread hoarding created an alarming coin shortage that affected almost every corner of the country. Businesses struggled to make change, banks imposed limits on coin withdrawals, and ordinary citizens wondered why something as common as a quarter had suddenly become difficult to find. The leaders of the United States government understood that the shortage threatened the smooth operation of the national economy. Officials at the Treasury Department, along with members of Congress and specialists at the United States Mint, debated possible solutions for months. The challenge was enormous because they needed a coin that people would trust while also reducing dependence on increasingly expensive silver. After careful study, lawmakers approved sweeping changes through the Coinage Act of 1965. This landmark legislation transformed American coinage forever. For the first time in generations, circulating quarter dollars would no longer be struck from 90% silver. Instead, they would feature a durable copper core covered by layers of copper and nickel, creating a coin that looked familiar but cost far less to manufacture. The government hoped that by removing the precious metal content, people would stop hoarding quarters and allow them to circulate freely once again. The change was controversial because many Americans felt that the traditional silver coin represented quality, stability, and history. Some worried that abandoning silver signaled economic weakness, while others believed the new coins would not last as long. Despite those concerns, production moved ahead rapidly because the nation desperately needed millions upon millions of additional quarters. The 1965 quarter became the first regular circulating quarter to represent this entirely new chapter in American coinage, making it one of the most historically significant coins ever produced by the United States Mint. As these new quarters rolled off the presses, the atmosphere across America remained one of constant transformation. Cities expanded, factories operated around the clock, automobiles filled newly constructed highways, and technological innovation reshaped everyday life. Shopping centers became gathering places for families, while vending machines and self-service businesses multiplied across the country, increasing the demand for small change. Every newly minted quarter quickly entered circulation, passing from cash registers to banks, from bus drivers to grocery clerks, and from children's allowances to factory payrolls. Unlike collectible commemorative issues, The 1965 quarter was created with one simple mission: to keep the nation's economy functioning during a period of extraordinary demand. Another unusual decision added even more historical importance. To discourage collectors from removing freshly made coins from circulation, the United States Mint temporarily eliminated mint marks from circulating coins regardless of where they were produced. That means a genuine 1965 quarter normally carries no mint mark at all, even though many examples were struck at different mint facilities. The absence of a mint mark was therefore not an error, but a deliberate policy designed to reduce speculation and encourage people to spend the coins rather than collect them. It reflected the government's determination to solve the coin shortage by changing public behavior as much as by changing the composition of the coins themselves. Although hundreds of millions of 1965 quarters entered circulation, the vast majority experienced decades of heavy use. They traveled through countless hands, jingled inside pockets, filled cash drawers, and endured years of wear before eventually disappearing from active commerce. Because people viewed them as ordinary money rather than future collectibles, few individuals carefully preserved pristine examples when they were new. Ironically, while earlier silver quarters were often saved because of their metal content, these new copper-nickel quarters were usually spent without a second thought. As time passed, perfectly preserved examples became much scarcer than anyone had expected. Collectors also discovered that some 1965 quarters displayed exceptional strike quality, while others showed fascinating mint-made varieties and production anomalies that attracted growing attention within the numismatic community. High-grade pieces with outstanding surfaces, sharp details, and original mint luster became especially desirable because they represent the coin exactly as Americans first saw it during this historic transition. The better the preservation, the more difficult the coin becomes to locate today, especially among examples certified at the highest grading levels by respected authentication services. When discussing rarity, it is important to understand that the standard 1965 quarter with no mint mark is not rare simply because it lacks a mint mark. Every regular circulation strike from that year was intentionally made without one. However, rarity emerges through condition, exceptional preservation, and recognized mint varieties. After more than 6 decades of circulation, relatively few examples survive with virtually flawless surfaces, crisp design elements, and vibrant original luster. Specialists believe that while millions of worn pieces still exist in collections, jars, and old savings, only a very small fraction remain in superb gem condition. The finest certified examples are measured in tiny numbers compared with the enormous original mintage. Certain valuable varieties, including dramatic double dyes or significant striking errors, are even scarcer and may exist in only a handful of confirmed specimens. That combination of historical importance, changing mint technology, and limited top-grade survivors has steadily strengthened collector demand over the years. Next up to in the 1966 quarter dollar with no mint mark is one of those coins that can easily pass through countless hands without attracting any attention, yet certain examples have become some of the most fascinating treasures in modern United States coin collecting. At first glance, every genuine 1966 quarter was supposed to have no mint mark because the United States Mint temporarily removed mint marks from circulating coins during the mid-1960s. This decision was made to discourage collectors from hoarding freshly minted coins during a nationwide coin shortage. That means the missing mint mark itself is completely normal for this date. What transforms an ordinary 1966 quarter into a valuable rarity is not the absence of a mint mark, but the unusual production mistakes and striking anomalies that occurred while millions of coins were being manufactured under tremendous pressure. During that period, mint employees were expected to produce enormous quantities of coins as quickly as possible to meet public demand. Equipment operated almost continuously, dies wore out faster than usual, and quality inspections could not catch every defective coin before it entered circulation. As a result, a small number of extraordinary error coins escaped into the public creating pieces that collectors now search for with incredible excitement decades later. To understand why these rare examples exist, it helps to follow the complete journey of a quarter before it ever reaches someone's pocket. Every coin begins with an artist's original design, which is transformed into a master hub containing the raised image of the finished coin. That hub is then used to produce master dies carrying the design in reverse. Working dies are created from those master dies and become the tools that actually strike coins. At the same time, large coils of copper and nickel alloy are rolled to the proper thickness before circular blanks are punched from the metal sheets. These blanks are heated in special furnaces to soften the metal, cleaned to remove oxidation, dried, and passed through upsetting mills that create a slightly raised rim around each blank. Once this preparation is complete, the blank becomes a planchet ready for striking. Inside a high-speed coining press, the planchet is held firmly in a collar while the upper and lower dies slam into it with tremendous force. In a fraction of a second, the metal flows into every tiny recess of the dies, producing the portrait, lettering, date, eagle, and all the intricate details collectors admire today. During the production of the 1966 quarter, those working dies endured enormous stress. Every strike created tremendous pressure that gradually weakened the steel. As dies wore down, tiny cracks sometimes developed along the surface. At first, these cracks were microscopic, but repeated impacts caused them to spread farther across the die face. Eventually, pieces of hardened steel could fracture away completely, creating what collectors call a retained die break or a full cud when the broken section reached the edge of the die. Coins struck afterward displayed raised lumps or unusual blobs because the missing portion of the die left extra space for the metal to flow during striking. Other dies developed severe polishing marks after mint workers attempted to extend their service life by grinding away clash marks or imperfections. Excessive polishing occasionally removed portions of letters, numbers, or design details, creating unusual varieties that are eagerly studied today. Because production was moving so rapidly, many worn dies continued striking thousands of additional coins before finally being replaced. One of the most desirable technical mistakes found on certain 1966 quarters involves doubled dies. This rare variety begins long before a coin is struck. During die manufacturing, the hub must impress the design into a blank die with perfect alignment. If the hub shifts slightly between impressions, the completed die may carry two overlapping images. Every coin struck from that defective die then repeats the same doubling. On a genuine doubled die example, collectors may notice strong separation on the date, the word liberty, or the motto "In God We Trust." Instead of looking blurry from circulation damage, the letters appear as distinct doubled images with clear notches at their edges. The effect was created during die production, not after the coin left the mint. Since inspectors focused primarily on keeping production moving, only a limited number of these unusual coins escaped before the defective die was removed. Today, specialists carefully examine every 1966 quarter under magnification, because even slight but genuine doubling can dramatically increase collector interest. Another remarkable production circumstance involves off-center strikes, broad strikes, and clipped planchets. These errors occur during the actual striking process rather than during die preparation. If the collar fails to hold the planchet correctly or the blank enters the striking chamber out of position, the finished coin may show part of its design missing, while an unstruck crescent-shaped area remains visible. This is known as an off-center strike. A broad strike happens when the retaining collar fails entirely, allowing the metal to spread beyond its intended diameter. A clipped planchet forms even earlier when the blanking press accidentally overlaps a previously punched hole while cutting new blanks from the metal strip. The resulting coin has a smooth curved section missing from its edge. These dramatic mistakes are immediately recognizable because the design appears incomplete or distorted. Although such errors were uncommon, the intense pace of production during 1966 increased the chances that a few escaped quality control and entered circulation unnoticed among billions of ordinary coins. Collectors also search carefully for dramatic die cracks, die chips, strike-through errors, and wrong planchet examples on the 1966 quarter. A strike-through occurs when grease, cloth fibers, metal shavings, or other foreign material becomes trapped between the die and the planchet. Instead of transferring the design normally, the obstructed area remains weak or missing. If a quarter was accidentally struck on a planchet intended for another denomination, the finished coin may weigh less or more than expected and display unusual color or size characteristics. These wrong planchet errors are exceptionally scarce because planchet feeding systems were designed to separate different denominations before striking. Nevertheless, mechanical failures occasionally allow the wrong blank to reach the press. Such coins are among the most valuable modern mint mistakes because they combine rarity with an easily understood production error. Careful examination of weight, diameter, color, and edge characteristics often reveals whether a suspicious coin deserves professional authentication. Only a tiny fraction of the hundreds of millions of 1966 quarters display major mint errors or recognized collectible varieties. The overwhelming majority remain common circulation coins worth only face value unless they survive in exceptional condition. Major double dies, dramatic off-center strikes, wrong planchet errors, broad strikes, and significant die break varieties exist in far smaller numbers, with some believed to survive in only dozens or a few hundred examples depending on the specific era. Because many entered circulation before collectors noticed them, countless pieces accumulated scratches, rim damage, and wear through decades of everyday commerce. As a result, examples preserving sharp details, original luster, and attractive surfaces are considerably scarcer than lower-grade pieces. Coins certified by professional grading services often command stronger prices because collectors have confidence in both the authenticity of the era and the assigned condition.